Taco!
Sup, hermanos? Welcome to A Cocina!
Yummy!
Now our mission today is to level up our taco game from beginner all the way up to top dog. The objective? Make a taco so good that even this perra will say, delicioso! Now, level 1 was a bit of a controversy. My cohorts here said that it was too complicated to be considered level 1.
Ty, are you losing sight of what's level 1 again? No, it's easy. It's just
I can only assume that it's the meat that they're talking about. The classic meat for tacos is going to be a skirt steak, flat meat, or flank steak. I don't even remember which one I bought, but they all work great. Just get whichever's on sale. All we're doing here is mincing it up into tacoable pieces. But my wife informs me that going through all that effort puts it outside of the realm of level 1. If that is the case, you can just use ground beef. It'll be just as tasty. Whatever choice you make about your meat, it's not the starting point of our dish. These tacos begin and end with onions. I'm going to dice up some onion and start it sauteing in a splash of oil and salt until they grab a little color, at which point they'll be joined by orange juice and a splash of white vinegar. I raise the heat to high temporarily to evaporate the newly introduced liquids. Once it dries up and starts to caramelize, I'm briefly toasting the finely minced garlic before adding the flat meat. I'm pretty sure it was flat meat. We'll leave the heat pretty high for the first few minutes in order to get a good sear. When the meat has gotten some good browned bits, it's time to add the chili powder. I added probably a bit too much to this one. We all liked it, but it was teetering on too much. Now in Mexico, I never had a single taco served with cheese. Well, unless you count something like tacos dorados. But point is, tacos don't normally get cheese, much less cheddar cheese. My family obviously does not care about that rule and makes me get the cheese out whenever I make them tacos.
Thank you.
To finish topping, they're getting paste picante. You can also do the classic diced onion and cilantro, but this is level 1. Let's keep it simple.
Very Mexican.
It has heat to it, but it's not like, I'm not like, milk, I need milk. Oh, you should, when you say like, you should say like Luke or like guest star Drake or something like that.
This is a very Mexican dish. This wouldn't be like,
You wouldn't find this at the Taco Bell.
No, this is an actual Mexican taco.
Plus cheddar cheese.
Plus cheddar cheese.
I don't know what to say, just good taco.
So this didn't have very many ingredients. But it's still something that you have to spend more money on because it's steak.
Oh, you just use ground beef.
For level 2, we're making a classic, tacos al pastor. These were definitely a favorite of mine in Mexico. Tacos al pastor is usually cooked on a vertical spit, but that seems like kind of level 3 territory. So this recipe has been adapted for home cooking. Starting with the marinade, I'm going to take several Chiles Guajillos and a few Chiles de Arbol, devein, remove the seeds, and boil in just enough water to cover them. The Chiles de Arbol are the spicy ones, so if you want it more or less spicy, you can add more or fewer of them respectively. Once they've softened up, they're going into the blender along with some white vinegar, garlic, salt, sugar, and achiote, aka annatto, aka the stuff that makes cheddar cheese orange. This will be the marinade for our pork shoulder. The pork shoulder I bought ended up having a bone in it, which considering how much I paid for it, I thought I wouldn't have a bone in it. That was kind of frustrating. One of the nice things about this recipe is how inexpensive it usually is. Anyway, our pork is getting sliced up into as thin a slices as you can reasonably get them, but we don't want them shaved. A pro tip is to lightly freeze it before cutting to make it easier to get into thin slices. If I were a pro, I might have actually remembered to do that. We're going to swim this pork butt for a few hours before skewering it up. Like I said, that normally goes on a vertical spit, but this is only level 2. 3 wooden skewers will do just fine to keep everything in line on our grill set to low. You could even experiment with indirect heat on this one and turn off the burner directly below the meat. I didn't, but I did think about it. We're going to let that slowly cook up to 180 degrees, flipping 4 or 5 times in the process. But while we got the grill going, it's time to make the salsa. I figured a green salsa would be fun, so we're grilling up some cleaned Tomatillos and Chiles Poblanos on the grill to get a little bit of char and removing the skins, stems, and seeds from the chilies. I don't bother to remove all the skin from the chilies, and traditionally I would remove the skin from the Tomatillos as well, but I like the char, so I don't really ever do that. The tomatoes and chilies are getting blended up with water, salt, garlic, onion, and cilantro for some of the most Mexican flavor you could imagine. In all this, I added a pineapple to the grill with enough time to cook that it'll finish with our pork butt. You can tell pineapple is ready when it looks a little dry and the pores in the side have really opened up. And just like that, our al pastor has reached 180 degrees. I'm going to remove from heat, remove from skewers, and cut into tacoable pieces. Then to moisten it up, I'm going to work in about a cup of bacon grease. If you understandably don't keep a tub of bacon grease around, you could add a little vegetable oil to lube it up. I know it seems weird to add a bunch of fat after the fact, and I would have normally included this oil in the marinade. But since we were grilling, I didn't want the oil to drip off and flare up. The meat gets served with hot tortillas, salsa, onion, cilantro, and pineapple.
Oh my. It's sweet. The sauce is creamy.
The sauce is very creamy. Creamy.
You know me.
I love the pineapple. I always love pineapple.
Yeah, it's the pineapple that makes it.
Colin, you're just in time for number 2.
Oh my gosh.
Wow. I like how the outside edge of the meat has kind of a crisp to it.
The first ones were like very Mexican.
This place in Hawaii that has really good tacos and people go to it, this is how good these are.
You didn't have to fly across the Pacific
I have to
get
fly.
Level 3 is an interpretation on barbacoa, which is a pretty cool tradition. The barbacoa I learned about involves building a fire in a pit, wrapping goat or lamb meat in banana leaves, and burying it with the coals of that fire overnight, or at least for several hours. Since I don't want to dig a pit in my parents' backyard, the smoker will be fine. Normally I would use a lamb shoulder or leg, but the lamb was sold out where I normally go, and I can only find this beautiful Frenched rack of lamb, but I think it looks good enough for coconut. We're going to swim this lamb in a marinade of stemmed, deveined, boiled anso chilies and guajillo chilies, white wine, apple cider vinegar, tomato, onion, oregano, toasted black peppercorns, toasted cloves, salt, and vegetable oil. This is going to soak for a few hours to help remove the gaminess from the lamb. Once it is marinated for a few hours, I'm topping it with a little extra sauce and avocado leaves before wrapping it in banana leaves and setting it in the smoker at around 275. We're going to be using the same salsa as level 2, so all that's left to do is to make some homemade tortillas. They're super easy, just maseca and water. This is the part where I deeply regretted forgetting my tortilla press at home. It would have been super easy, but luckily the bros around here are trying to get shredded. So we have some 45-pound plates sitting around.
Hey.
Which ended up working out okay, especially with coconut's help. Just measure out 1.5 ounce balls, cover both sides in plastic, and squish as much as you can. Then toast them on the flat top until they seem ready to flip. The most important part about cooking tortillas is to make multiple and stack them together in a towel because this is where they finish cooking and become pliable during this final steaming phase. To serve, I placed a couple ribs with some salsa, a little bit of marinade that I boiled for safety, and tortillas. Notice that for the first taste test, I forgot to add the marinade, so they weren't as flavorful as they should have been, but we fixed that about halfway through. Let's see what Coconut thinks.
Oh my gosh. That'd be a good shot.
Here, you try some lamb?
Like a delicacy.
Yeah. Okay, all done?
Delicious. Worth the work. It's because I didn't do the work.
Another one, bartender.
This was a chunky lamb.
Every time I eat your food, Ty, it feels like I'm in a really nice restaurant, and I just paid a lot of money for it.
Boxes, 4 tackle boxes.
Alright, it's the first lamb taco I've ever had.
It is, it's a softer meat.
You only live once, I'm making a lamb taco.
This is just crazy time. Plus 1 taco.
So if I were to do it
It was
again, I would
better,
probably
like-
do it with like a lamb shoulder. It would be able to shred and probably hold on to a lot more of this, sauce that I'd made for it.
Yeah,
But
it's-
this makes a killer taco after adding the sauce. Definitely more of a delicacy. Not for Luke, but man, this is good. Don't mind if I keep going.
Yeah, I feel like the flavor with the pork is just more taco-y. Yeah, I would say like a shoulder And then once you shred it, marinate it after it's been shredded for a while too, and let it cook slower than that, and I'd really get the flavor in
Yeah.
it.
That would have been more barbacoa-like.
This is good though.
She ate that up so fast.
Oh, no. Looks like I'll have to watch the video. Oh, it's gone.
Is the griddle still on?
No, but it's kind of warm.